Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 130. 30. Do you know I've got a podcast and Instagram voice? A friend of mine, I was talking to a friend of mine and I showed them a post on Instagram and it was a carousel. And I started reading it out. And they were like, oh my god, that's your Instagram voice. And I stopped reading after that. I talk very differently in normal everyday life. Anyway, moving on. I wasn't going to record an episode, but I brought my microphone was still in my jacket from the last one. And I just had a bit of a thought there that I wanted to talk about. So, I had someone comment about... Lots of people comment on my TikTok videos, but there was one that kind of stood out this morning when I was having a look, where the woman said, talking about Slumming World, it works when you're on plan. It works when you're on plan. How do we define works? I think this is a huge problem when it comes to weight loss. People think that the only measure of success with weight loss is when your weight's going down. As long as your weight's coming down, it's working. It's not though, is it? Yes, losing weight is what you wanted to do, but it's so short-sighted. I also said this to a client yesterday, who recently joined and is loving the process and wish I had found you years ago and all the usual stuff. And then she was talking about how she's tried so much recently or over the last few years and dieting's just become so much harder. And you know, people associate, especially women associate dieting becoming harder with their age. 40, you know, the age of 40 is as popular as the number 1200 for calories. Like, people think that, once your body knows that it's been labelled as 40 years old, it doesn't. Once your body knows it's been labelled as 40 years old, it just somehow suddenly stops losing weight. But you know what the reality is? You have been dieting since your late teens. You have yo-yo dieted up and down. You keep losing and gaining the same weight. And every time that happens, a little bit of your trust is broken. A little bit of your belief is broken. And the reason dieting gets harder as you get older is because you cannot be arsed with it. You don't want to do it because you know what's going to happen. I'm going to put in the effort, I'm going to lose the weight, and I'm going to put it back on again. So what's the point? And that filters through into your efforts. So yes, I agree, losing weight does become harder, but it's not because your body's doing anything. It's because you are finding it more difficult to do the things. Like, even once you start entering perimenopause, going into menopause, you know, you still lose and gain weight the same way. Yes, there are hormonal things going on that can influence things, but the laws of physics still apply. Energy is still king. If you put in too much energy, you will gain weight. If you don't put in enough energy, you will lose weight. Yes, there are influences, but that's all they are, influences. Nothing is going to stop you from losing weight. Nothing is going to make you gain weight. And then the point there was, while going through any stage of menopause, you experience symptoms. I think I said this recently, actually, in another episode, and those symptoms act as amplifiers. So if you're already someone who is prone to eating in response to their mood, going through menopause might amplify that. If you're someone who's already prone to eating to cope with tiredness, same again. So, and combine that with a history of yo-yo dieting, combine that with your belief being broken all the time that you can't lose weight and keep it off, because you have all this evidence to say that you can lose weight, but you also have years of evidence to say that you put it back on again. And you get to a point where you lack belief and confidence. So it's not necessarily that dieting gets harder as you get older. It's you've got life experience behind you that influences your confidence in whatever it is that you're doing. And you just get to a point where you've had enough. Like that's one of my biggest challenges when it comes to bringing new clients into the Monroe method. Like, everybody comes in a skeptic. My whole thing is, I want to help you lose weight. And that's it. I don't want you to have to lose it ever again. Come in here, I'll help you do that. That's the ultimate goal. And people go, yeah, right. Let's go see what this rubbish is all about. It's just going to be another one of those things that promises this and it doesn't work. Anyway, what did I start talking about again? So, the woman who said it works. That post that she commented on was about Slimming World brainwashing. So I went quite in depth and explained all the little intricate parts of Slimming World that are set up to turn you into a lifelong dieter. And it's funny because most of the comments on there, the pro Slimming World comments, are the exact people that I'm talking about in the video. And if they watch the video to the end, and they still don't realise I'm talking about them, it shows you how bad things are. You know, like that person. It works if you can stick to it. Yeah, you don't want a diet that works when you stick to it. You want a diet that also works when you don't stick to it. Because you've worked on the important things. So then when you're not doing the optimal things, when you're not doing what's best for your body, you're also not going in the complete opposite direction. So, I don't stuff my face with fruit and vegetables every single day. Not every single meal I eat is balanced between protein and fibre. But most of them are. The rest of the time I'm doing something else. The problem is people live in this very black and white world. You're either on plan or off plan. Doing good, doing bad. Being good, being bad. Being healthy, being unhealthy. On plan, off plan. On track, off track. On the wagon, off the wagon. All this, it's the same thing. All different words, all different terminology. The underlying thought process, black and white. I am either doing all of these things or I am doing none of these things. All of these things makes their weight go down. On plan, working, following somehow, that's it, working. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm following the manual. I'm reading the book. I'm following the instructions. I'm doing it every day. And my weight's coming down. The only thing is, I don't want to do this forever. Because it's getting quite boring. I'm sick of sins. I'm sick of free foods. I'm sick of healthy extras. However, I don't know any other way. I know that this, quote unquote, works. Because I've got to a point where I've allowed myself to believe that weight going down is a good thing, weight going up is a bad thing, and weight maintenance is just a myth. If you are following something that is making your weight go down, it's only partly working. You're only a quarter of the way there. You're not even halfway there. You're only a quarter of the way there. Think about it this way, right? What is the biggest challenge with your weight? The biggest challenge with any yo-yo dieter, with their weight, whether they realise it or not, is their inability to not gain weight. They are unable to stop themselves from gaining weight. That's the problem. And this is the part that people just don't think about. They just focus on, my weight is somewhere I don't want it to be, I need to make it come down. And that's why with everything I do, I take it a step farther and say, okay, well, why is your weight where you don't want it to be? Think of this as your baseline measure, right? If you did not gain weight, you would not have weight to lose. And if you don't have weight to lose, you don't need to diet. People don't take that extra step of thinking. They stop when they get to, oh, my weight's went up again, need to get it back down. That's their baseline. And that's the way that I worked all the way through my 20s. Oh, back to 14.5 stone again, nearly at 15 stone again. Need to do something about it. It took me the best part of over a decade, to ask that question about that next step, where I went, wait a minute, if I can stop my weight from going back to that number, then I'll get to stop doing something about it when it gets to that number. So let's focus on that instead. And that's been the way that I've looked at it ever since. I know I've said this lots of times, but, you know, if someone... how many times have you walked into a shop or a shopping centre or whatever, and there's a bucket on the floor, and there's a wet floor sign, and there's a drip coming from the roof? Right? You've not solved the problem. You've stopped there from being a puddle on the floor, so you've solved part of the problem. Oh, there's a big puddle on the floor there. It's coming from that drip in the ceiling. Okay, what do we do? Do we fix the drip in the ceiling, or do we just put a bucket under the drip? Let's put a bucket under the drip. That's what yo-yo dieting is. You're not tackling the problem at the source. You're tackling the problem at the end. The end result. The end result is where your weight goes. Remember, your weight is always exactly where it's supposed to be. Your weight does not get to where it is by accident. Unless you have an underlying medical issue that is genuinely driving your weight upwards. Can't even really say that, because you still need to do the things to make the weight go up. But anyway, let's not dive into that today. But your weight is always my weight's exactly where it's supposed to be right now. Not because I don't do anything to my weight. I wake up each day and I live my life the way that I live it now. Yes, 8, 9, 10 years ago, very different. My weight was in a different place because it was supposed to be there. And I worked on the things I needed to work on. I understood the things that I needed to change. And I want you to know that you can get to a point where you will wake up each day and take positive steps that will lead to your weight being somewhere else, in a place that you want it to be, or closer to where you want it to be. But this idea needs to die, right? This idea needs to die, that your weight coming down is working. Like, one part of the process is working. And I tell this to clients as well. Like, they'll come in and work with me for the first month. We'll set up their nutrition plan. They'll follow it for the first week. And I will look and say, is your weight coming down? Yes, awesome. We are in the ballpark with your figures. That side of things is working. And then we'll get 2 weeks beyond that to the first fortnightly check-in. Are they down 2 or 3 pounds? Yes, awesome. I park that to the side now, because I know the numbers are fine. So we don't need to focus on the numbers anymore. Now that I know that their weight's going to continue to come down, we can focus on the important stuff. So once we get the numbers in the right place, that's it. I can forget about it. I know that if you continue to work to those calories, your weight is going to continue to come down 2 to 3 pounds every fortnight, right? Big tick, forget about it. Now we work on the important stuff, right? And this is where the check-ins come in. This is where the questions I ask come in. This is where the things that they tell me every couple of weeks about what's their emotional eating moments, how they navigated this meal out, the nights where they overate, and this is this is where we talk about the stuff that drives their weight. And all it is yes, we're trying to make their weight come down, because that you can't just tell someone that. It doesn't sell, right? If I advertise and say, listen, I'm not gonna help you lose weight. What we're gonna do is all this stuff first, then we'll start helping you lose weight. People do not want that. So sadly, I do have to come at it from the angle of helping people get their weight down during the process, but while we're working on and figuring out the process, which is fine. I've spent this is the 8th year of creating a process that allows that to happen. So we can still do it. But we do it on the understanding, and I say to people, look, this 2 to 3 pounds a fortnight loss is only going to happen if you do these things every day. And in the beginning, you might find it easy because you're excited and motivated, and then these little bits and pieces sneak through that slow things down a bit, and that's fine. As long as you understand that that's going to happen from time to time, and when it does, those are the things that we work on. Sorry, I'm bending all over the place trying to grab leads. Then we're good. You know, I try to help people not create expectations that the scales are going to come down on a week by week basis. Yes, if you stick to it and if you stick to this and do all the things that make your weight come down, absolutely you can expect your weight to come down consistently, but you're going to have weekends away. Like, we're 2 weeks, or we're not 2 weeks, we're through the Easter holidays, we're through a bank holiday weekend, there's another bank holiday coming up, there's another one at the end of May. These are moments where people might struggle, and that's fine, because I've done a bunch of check-ins yesterday, and people have lost £1 over a fortnight, which is incredible, because that's through the Easter holidays. Yeah, I had a woman who was away on holiday for 9 days, came back £2 lighter, not because she tracked calories or did anything when she was away, but because she focused on the things that she'd been learning, focused on her habits, her behaviours, the way that she approached food, eating out multiple times, and navigating it brilliantly. And she came back day one, her weight was £2 up, as you would expect, just a fluctuation. Within 2 days, it was lower than before she went away. And she had a great time on holiday, didn't feel any differently. Knew that she'd done things differently, like halving a dessert with her husband instead of having one each, stopping when she started to feel full instead of clearing every plate. But she never missed out on anything. Still had a great holiday. And instead of gaining weight like she has every other time in the past, she came back lighter. Which is just incredible. It's like everything that I set things up to do. It's what I want to help people achieve. So, circling back to the point, because I'm now in the estate, and now that the mornings are brighter, people are out a bit more, and I look like an idiot with a microphone in front of my face. Yeah. Morning. Slimming World isn't working. The idea that it's working. Do you know, one more thing, right? I posted on TikTok last week, and it went a little bit viral, about Weight Watchers going bankrupt. And there was a woman on there replying to everyone's comments, defending Slimming World. Not Slimming World, sorry. Defending Weight Watchers. And do you know what she said in one of her comments? I've been attending Weight Watchers for 27 years. I swear by it. That is the level of brainwashing we are talking about. Like, imagine thinking that yo-yo dieting with Weight Watchers for almost 3 decades, the vast majority of her life so far, is something to be proud of, like a badge of honour. That's insanity. That is someone who is so deep that they will never see the light. Anyway, let's get away from the idea that your weight simply coming down means that things are working. You're only part way there. The whole rest of your journey is the most important part. Weight maintenance, the ability to not regain weight. That's what you should be focused on. Weight loss is just the annoying short-term thing you have to do to get your weight to where you want it to be. After that, it's all about and if you don't learn how to maintain during the process, then you're not going to stay there. I'll leave you with one last thing, one last thought. I wrote this in a caption yesterday, or I think I said it in an Instagram reel script. How you lose the weight will be how you maintain your weight. Meaning the process, the way that you think, the way that you act, the way that you behave. I was talking about it from a self-critical angle, where it's like, if you bully yourself into losing weight, if you force yourself, if you call yourself names, if you're very unkind to yourself, if that's the process by which you lose weight, that'll be the same process that you use to maintain it. You'll have to be very unkind to yourself to stay there. But it kind of applies to the way that you lose weight as well. Like, if you follow Slimming World to lose weight, you'll probably be following it forever to maintain it, because they create that dependency on them. Your success is linked to us, so you have to stay with us or you're going to go back to where you were. So keep that one in mind. The process you use to lose it is also going to be the process you use to maintain it. And if you do not want to be following things like Weight Watchers and Slimming World your whole life, then you need to find something better if you haven't already. Right, until next time.